Hello and welcome everyone to something a bit new. This is going to be my commentary and reaction to the Joker movie that I just watched last night. It came out on Thursday, I believe. Now, this isn't going to be a review per se. I will not give it a score because, let's be real, either you want to see this movie and we'll see this movie, or you have already seen this movie and or you don't want to see this movie and you just don't care, which, if that is the option, I don't know why you're here listening to this. And my opinion should not hopefully change your desires in that regard when it comes to watching the movie or not watching the movie or your own thoughts on the movie. Now, I will try to keep this as spoiler free as humanly possible. I will dabble in near spoilerish territories, but I won't get into specifics because I want you all to experience this movie. This movie is great. But let's jump into the meat and potatoes of this, shall we? The Joker was directed by Todd Phillips, and Joaquin Phoenix was the main character, the Joker. It was a wild ride of a movie, I have to say. People say it had a slow burn, but I disagree. It was not a slow burn, not really. Better described as a plane taking off or a train starting to move. No one moment of it felt slow or unneeded. If anything, it felt tense and awkward. An awkward burn, if you will. It felt like watching a train wreck. You know exactly what was coming. You knew where it was going to go, but you didn't want it to. At least, not at first. You felt bad for Arthur. You felt pity for Arthur. If anything, you wanted him to get the help he needed. He deserves the help. He was a good man, a kind man. He took care of his mother. He was a good man. He shouldn't have been punished. He shouldn't have been punished for it. He shouldn't have been pushed that far. This is a movie of watching a man get beaten down every time he tries to better himself and seek help. Every move he tries to make, every move he makes to be better, he gets broken and punched in the face time and time again. No matter what he does or who he goes to, he just gets beaten down again and again and again and again. You really do pity him. You know what he will become. You know exactly what he will become. But you know he doesn't want to become that beast. He does his best to not. Every time he has an option to reach out, he reaches out. But every time, he just gets punched. Just every time. Every time he does something society claims he should do, he just gets beaten down again. Every time. And there's only so long someone can go on like that before something breaks, before they break. And normally, people in that situation don't go violent. They end up on the streets, they go homeless, and they end up broken and alone. Broken in mind, body, and spirit. But Arthur has a much darker beast inside of him than most people do. Most people have a beast inside of them, but Arthur has a much, much darker one inside. The critics of this movie say this is a bad move for talking about this type of issue. I disagree, while also simultaneously kind of agreeing. This movie shines a light on the inner workings of man. We all have a beast. We all can become like Arthur. If we get pushed enough, we all can become like Arthur. And that makes people uncomfortable. That makes people have a knee-jerk reaction to dislike this movie. Not everyone is introspective enough to understand their own beast and where it lies and what could force them to this. Every human is capable of great evil, while also capable of great kindness. The people who really dislike this movie, I have a feeling, don't understand that part of psychology. This movie, This movie stirs that sickly feeling inside when you're alone at night and you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling and you just feel that deep seated hatred that you always get sometimes, or maybe that's just me, but where you just judge yourself at all times and it just goes on and on and on like a circle. And you know it's not rational, but it's there. This movie feeds that sickly part of you. That much darker part of you. That you know, rationally, isn't a healthy part and you do things to battle against, but it feeds that. It, for lack of a better terms, it tickles the beast we all have. You leave this movie feeling it. You feel weird. And at least in my case, you feel both lighter and heavier. Duality, almost. Like, the darkness was happy that people are finally, at least through the media, talking about mental health and the darkness that people hold, or the darkness that people can hold. Not saying everyone would go out and do this if pushed, obviously, but this movie really does shine a light on that internal workings of people. The true darkest thoughts, because everyone has them. Everyone has the call of the void when you're walking along like a cliff face and it's the little voice in your head that says jump. Or you have that like weird violent urge that you just like smush down, or whatever it is. Everyone has that, even if you're unwilling to actually verbalize it. Everyone has that. It's a human thing. That's what this movie recognizes, and that darkness is happy that it finally gets recognized. It shouldn't be, that darkness shouldn't be shamed. You shouldn't be afraid of it, because most people have support systems. Most people know better than to give in and aren't pushed as far as he was. And even if you are pushed as far as he was, you shouldn't give in to it. But it's good that we're finally talking about the fact that everyone has something like this. That everyone is capable of something like this. I do appreciate this movie. But talking about darker thoughts and feelings is hardly unique. Many mediums have played with the inner demons of the audience. This was just a good modern example of it. Of course, critics will say this might drag someone over the edge, and I find that hilarious. This whole movie critiques that very idea. That one thing could push someone to do something like this. This whole movie is about everything pushing someone to do this. It's hilarious how in a movie about the lack of sympathy in the system to the weakest, those who are in a position of strength blame art and cinema and media as the cause of this violence, instead of looking at the lack of support for those who could be pushed to such extreme lengths. Or worse yet, those who on one hand decry the media like this, the politicians who decry the media like this and yet cut social spending and mental health services, potentially creating the very monster they claim they fear this movie will produce. Now, that's my take on the Joker movie. It's a harrowing observation and critique of the modern state of the and the lack of care that we give to the less fortunate, mentally unstable. Those who are most in need of help are scorned and shunned instead of being helped. All this did was take that to its worst possible extreme. Now, as an aside for you history fans, the Joker movement that happens later on in the movie, funnily enough, reminded me a great deal of the Russian Revolution, a movement spurred on by the hatred of the rich, led by a charismatic, insane person with little to no regard of human life. The difference here is, of course, ideology. Joker has no ideology. He is nihilism taken to the extreme, while Lenin and Trotsky wanted to institute communism. Lenin, of course, could be argued, and likely was viewed at the time, as a raving violent lunatic who should either be shot and locked up. And of course, Joker is a raving violent lunatic at the head of a movement. Not that he is much of a leader, but still. I find it amusing the parallels this movie takes with that, or at least the parallels that can be drawn with that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the movie. What are your thoughts on this? How far base am I off with mine? Leave that in the comments. If you like this video, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it, I guess. Apart from that, I've been me, you've been you, love, butts, and happiness, and all that other good stuff. If you'd like to see more reviews like this, please leave it in the comments. I'll do my best to accommodate that. I'll see y'all in the next one. Goodbye. And in